man? Welcome to the B6.
Welcome
Back
to B6
back
on
on the
this
bus.
hot ass Sunday morning. What's going on?
Yo, speaking of B6, my sister sent me a link, Gersh Park. You remember Gersh Park, Linden Boulevard,
Hell
Gersh
yeah,
Park?
man. Got some good
It,
ball games going on there.
right now, it's like my sister said, it's second to the Rucker. Like famous people be going out there all the time. You went out there
Yeah.
like fairly recently. Like
Nah.
they redid
Every time I'm out.
Bro, they redid the courts. I mean, I remember seeing the courts redone, but they take care of it now. Where we used to play ball at,
Mhm.
like if we go back there, you probably wouldn't even recognize it. Like it's official. Like they have, I think it was ball player Raymond Felton. He was just saying he was out there. They have like street ball, like always tournaments and stuff like that, especially in the summertime. And they have the announcers talking, like I said, like guys like Lance Stevens, like they come out there and
Oh, for
they
real?
ball. Yeah, it's official. Like she said, they're second
Now I
to the
know,
ruck.
I know, I know ballers, famous ballers do show up, but I've seen some of the changes, but I haven't been on the court probably 3, 4 years. Driven
Yeah,
by it, but I was always had something to do.
3 4 years is a short period of time. I haven't been there in way longer than that. They had
Hmm.
the track. We used to go out there and run around the track.
Right,
It,
right.
it was official. That park was official. It was like basically almost like across the street from where we lived. And it just kind of like, man, it turned out to be that. I feel a little bit proud, like, damn, I used to be there. You know what I mean? Like, remember
Hmm.
they had they had in the back, they had like a small, like a low rim where people be dunking. Like
Right,
people
right,
used to
right,
go
right,
back
right,
there
right.
and just play. Had a lot of
Yeah,
experience there
that
because,
was a that was a shitty run.
but what I remember, it was or bro, that it was rough. That neighborhood was rough. Like you
Hmm.
used to live. You remember you lived over. You moved and you lived in the middle of that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The
and I
neighborhood
know
was
which
rough.
ones. Yeah, yeah, it was. It
I
was.
remember as a kid playing ball out there. Me and my friends, it was before I met you. My neighbors, it was they had like three brothers, and me and my brother and probably a couple other kids from the block. We went out there to play, and you playing ball in the middle of the freaking game. Somebody came and choked out one of my friend's brother. Literally was choking him, and we all standing there like, "Yo, is he playing? Like, what's going on?" He had a chain on him, and his other brother went over there and started fighting. And I'm standing there like shocked, I was like, I don't know, maybe 12. I don't know how old I was, and the other brother got choked out, fell on the floor, laid out, and it was a couple guys fighting the other brother that was, bro, he was like fighting three guys, and then the brother that got choked out, he got up, and then he started fighting, and they chasing each other. And that happened right there at Gersh Park, man. It was a lot of stories like that in my
Yeah,
life.
there's a lot of changes been made over there. They build up smaller. Because right behind uh, Gersh is projects. You just surrounded by projects,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
kind of made it more small, affordable apartments right near it now. So it looks kind
Okay.
of
Did
a
they
little
gentrify?
more.
Did they gentrify it? Because it's like, is it
Mm,
still bad? And like, I'm
I
asking,
wouldn't say that.
where did where does these guys when they come to play ball and visit? Where do the people park?
Oh man, it ain't enough. It's not about really parking. You gonna find
Where
some
would you
parking
park?
somewhere.
Yeah, okay, you
You
find it.
got,
Then you gotta walk to like,
yep,
bro, like
yep.
they in the
Or
hood. They in
they
the
might have.
hood.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna have some celebrities out there, they're gonna have it more secured up. Police surrounding kind of the park, so
I
it's
don't know, bro.
more safe when you have a big game going. So,
Okay, like they
but
got the expensive cars.
anything can still happen. You're surrounded by the projects. It's just they
Yeah,
know everybody that's in the stuff that is illegal. They're gonna kind of keep it on the low. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, it's I definitely want to see the upgrades and changes. I haven't been there in a couple years.
yeah. I remember, was it you that said, during Father's Day that they have something big there too and stuff like that?
Oh fuck, Father's Day is always epic, man. Always
Yeah,
epic. I
yeah.
mean, that's where you if you from there, it's like your one stop shop to meeting up everybody you may haven't seen all summer or in a couple of years. Sometimes you might not have seen anybody in like 2015. I think my mother said she was out there
Wow.
the last one, and she said she haven't seen somebody since high school. Like, damn. But every time I went, it was always nice, cool. You felt like I'm good. I know too many people here, so I haven't been there in a while. Though.
Uh, Nah, that's cool, man. And speaking of Father's Day and fathers, this topic today we're talking about dads versus stepdads, right? Like, so what's your perspective
I got,
on? You want to take one side, I take another side, or because you had a stepdad, I
I
never
also
had a
got,
stepdad.
yeah, I got experience in that field, man. I don't know when you was okay with going with that topic. I'm like, man, this guy don't even have a expect. Do you have anybody in your family that got a stepdad
I don't
or
think
that
so,
you
though.
could think of? Yeah, like, but you know of a lot of people that have it.
I mean, no, somebody.
Damn. That's always a good thing, man. I mean, you got somebody that if you go through life and you have all your ancestries and families right there that you can like tie down to. It's kind of complicated, and uh, people usually have a deep and painful story if you have a stepdad. Like, no, shout outs to people that do have stepdads. I mean, they do fill the void that people need their both parents involved, whether you're gonna be the biological one or the or just the step. Only because a woman can't fill the full void of a man, just like a man can't fill the full voids of a woman or potential woman. They need both. They need both perspectives from a mother's side and a father's side. So I was an example of somebody who know my mother obviously all my life, but my father, my biological father, left when I was two, maybe. So um, I don't have any kind of stories for him. I like after he left at two, I met him once by accident at a bodega. For people who don't know, bodega is that's a corner store in the hood.
Corner,
Like we had a
corner
bunch of
store.
them. That's all we know. We don't even know. I think it took me to after I left New York. I was like, "What the hell's a bodega?" And somebody asked me, and I was like, "It's a bodega." No, but no, but yeah, I was just my grandmother was taking me somewhere. I forgot. I was like 7 years old, and we just so happened to stop at this corner store, and he was in there. Came out, and I don't know. My grandmother pointed at me, but he looked at me. We caught eye contact, and then I was it.
Damn,
Got in the car and left. I haven't seen him since I was seven.
damn.
Uh, it's funny you also bring this up because yesterday I had this. I'm gonna keep his name. You're not anonymous, but he was an ex football player trying to buy a car for his family. Um, and I didn't know who he was. So I was like, "Hey man, you really a ball player, man?" Like I had somebody tell me the same thing, and I looked at him funny. As soon as we walked away, I Googled him and he was nowhere near to be found on the internet. He said, "Nah, man." And he Googled his name real quick, popped right up. Name, everything. So he's but the reason I bring him up is that he he said, "Oh man, you look familiar." And I knew somebody named Jason Vann that I played with. I'm like, what? I was like, it's probably somebody from my father's side of the family. I don't know a lot of those people. So he's like, yeah, man. He didn't say he played good ball, but he's So as soon as he left, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to Google and see if I can find him up. But um, anyway, it's a different feeling when you have a stepdad versus uh, a dad. Um, Sometimes you always think about your bloodline, um, where you come from. I mean, I think you can always retrace your background because you got all your family, and then you can kind of understand your traits and maybe your habits and how you are who you are. Some of your traits I can like really see from your dad. You know, Not so much your mom because I think I was more connected with your dad than anything. I kind of just saw your mother in passing. I saw both of them in passing, but anyway, um, it's just a different feeling. I mean, and then you always got to think of the same thing as far as a stepdad is. Are they really a stepdad, or are they just who your mother's with right now? You know what I mean? Are they really filling a void, or are they just there? So shout outs to the ones that's actually filling the void. That's a big tall task. I mean,
Yeah,
anybody can just say, yeah, that's my step kid, and then as soon as they f up, like, they don't even step in to like change or fix the situation you're in. My stepdad actually was there and still there, still have conversations and still gets mad just like a father would, and never walked away. So shout outs to him.
yeah. I mean, like you just finished stepdad, like could be more of a father, than your biological dad. So like I know growing up with a father, everybody's situation is different. So you're going to speak on your situation, which you did. I'm speaking on mine, and a lot of my years is like my father was like he said, very quiet, even to us, even in the house. Like he worked hard. He woke up early, like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like he was out the house by 5 in the morning, came back like 6 at night, 6, 7 at night. He ate his dinner, took a shower, came back, drank some rum, some liquor, went to bed, just did it again. On Saturdays, he will wash his car, and then we won't see him for the whole Saturday. So it's
You
like
watch
my
the car
fault.
outside?
Yeah, outside in the backyard. We had a
Oh,
backyard.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Not
okay.
everybody had a
Right,
backyard in New York, but we had a driveway and a backyard, nice
right,
backyard.
right, right,
But
right.
I remember him doing that every Saturday. It felt like every Saturday. And what my memory, most of my memory with my father was like he was one of those fathers that was home, but wasn't home. Like he was always there, but you
Doing
never
something.
seen him.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He never really, like if I needed to know how to shave or like taught me anything, he just led by example. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really appreciate him until later when I became an adult. Like I didn't understand like what they went through as parents in the household, because he never really like said, "Hey, son, let me teach you this or you should do that." He never really spoke to me. He was just same way he was quiet to you in past. It was like the same way in the house. Like we couldn't really ask him. We thought our father was like mean. Couldn't really ask him for nothing because if he did it, like he would probably say no. That's how my mother had us. So like when he used to go in the shower, take his shower, my mother he had a 2 pound. He kept all his money. My mother would say, "Hurry up, grab the key. Okay, we need some money for our school trip." So she will take a couple dollars out, or it was quarters. He had a lot of change just so we could buy like a sandwich and a juice, 50 cent soda or something. So that was my whole childhood actually. Like I didn't have much moments where he like taught me something. So and then I left my house early, like 18, and started to live my own life, try to become my own man. And later, much later in my life, like I tell people, like it was hard to like when it's his birthday or holiday. It used to be hard for me to just like pick up the phone and call him just to say happy birthday, because we never had those conversations. But I
So would
felt
you
like
shot him a text?
It was no texting, and definitely no texting at that
Oh,
time. And my father still, he never got into texting, even when it became a time to text. Old people, some old people
wow.
just don't text. But those
Yeah.
calls was always difficult. So, but I know I always
Would you just
knew.
make it short and brief?
Yeah, definitely. It was awkward. It was hard. It was hard. But
Yeah.
it was. But at some point, I'm trying to remember the turning point because I would say my father. I think something changed in him. I don't know what it was, but he became a little bit more giving. I think it was with my youngest sister. We like, yo, my father started giving. My father bought her a car. He damn near was doing everything for her, and he never did for any one of us. So I
To
felt
my
like he,
Bia.
yeah. My sister
Mm,
Bianca, the youngest one
yeah.
out of six, seven
Hmm.
actually, but that's a whole other. But it she, I noticed a change in him, and then I think I started calling him more and having a little more conversations because actually I was the one that was because Bianca moved to Florida, so I had to talk to him to facilitate the transactions of the car and stuff like that. So I started talking to him more, and then he decided to move down to Florida, and he was diagnosed with cancer and stuff like that. And we got closer and closer. And I started to learn more and more from him. So, and I started to understand more and more about him
Hmm.
and about myself because like you said, it was great that he is my biological father because like certain traits we inherit it, it passes along naturally. And
Hmm.
whatever mistakes he made or whatever, I still learn from it and try to become a better father for my kids, what I'm saying. So um that was my perspective. That was my but I understand people, or kids have dads, actual biological dads that's not really there for them, and
Hmm.
like I said, my father wasn't really there for me either. But some dads is just totally not even in the household. And you have single moms or like you said, stepdads. And the stepdads step up and become, more of a father than your biological, you know, dad or
Hmm.
whatever. So I mean,
Yeah.
this is an interesting topic. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like for me, like I said, I don't know anything. I never had a feeling. Sometimes I get a feeling. I said maybe I should learn the father side of the story for me, but sometimes I get more resentment of, well, if you don't want me, I don't want you type of feeling. So I just move on from the thought. And then anything that I need or if I want to talk about it, I can talk to my father. And it's interesting, as I was listening to you saying that you were scared to kind of have a conversation with him. It didn't you weren't able to pick up a common ground or connection until you became in the adult life and he moved. I think because us as men, we just so busy, nothing, it just never stops. I mean, the same thing with my cousin. He got a bunch of kids. Um, we talk all the time about his situation and the plate he has to fill. And when you have that many kids in the house, it's hard to give everybody the same equal amount of attention. Because you just got so much to do. You got to be the leader of the house, make sure everybody's good, make sure you're good. Um, and sometimes you'll come home just so tired, you know, not giving the fathers a pass on that. I mean, you're still supposed to make some type of time for them and teach them things. Speaking about the kids, but it is funny how when you get older, you start mimicking the same thing your father has to go through, and you don't want to have all your conversations with the kids because you don't want to put your burdens on the kids. So a lot of times, I think your dad probably just kept it to himself and looked mean, but he just didn't want to burden you with his problems on a day to day. He got like seven, eight, nine, 10, you got like 10 people to feed in that house, and then your mother wasn't. wasn't really working, right? She had like little small jobs here and there, but
Right.
she wasn't bringing in no money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was listening to your story, talk about some. Once he hit the shower, y'all hit them pants,
Yeah.
hit the pants up.
Oh, so
I
it's a
don't know if you
routine.
could do that. That type of, yeah, that type of living is, that's like a dead. That's a dead time. I mean, if I had a little kid and I went in the shower, her mother bet not say, "Hey, let's go hit up his pants." I'm gonna know you went in my pants when I get out that shower, and I'm gonna have some words. I mean, it's just like you gotta tell me that. I mean, but at the end of the day, when he put his pants on, get ready for work, digging his pants is a little light, he gotta eat it. You know, it's like I'm responsible for all these people. This is not all my money. So, shouts to him for
But that's
being
the thing
quiet. I
too. It's
mean,
like
playing his role.
it's funny because like most of my years, I always thought he was mean to my mother with money, like he was stingy, and my mother
Nah, he
always
just had to
right. But it's
had
not
to
it's not
manage
until
those bills.
it's not even until after he passed where now I'm helping my mother manage her money, and I now I realize like how horrible she is with money. So even if she have a little
I,
bit, she wants even if she has a lot, she wants more. Like it's just I could understand
I
why my
wonder,
father was the way he was with her.
I wonder if he was if he set it up for, but like that was the allowance. So like, okay, I know she's gonna go on pants. Let me leave this amount in, because you said it was change dollars in there. And she
Well,
knew to take
it
out
was
certain things.
it wasn't his pants. It was his. He had a like a tool pan, right? Like a
Oh, it
red
was just
tool pan.
like miscellaneous money, just like extra
Well,
money.
he in this tool pan he had everything. He had like whole bunch. He had like a whole bunch of quarters all the time. Like he had, back in the day, you had those things that you stuff the coin in and then you take it to the bank, like to hold all your change, and you
Mm-hmm.
trade it in for the actual dollar bills. Like he had those type of coins, and he always had a lot of coins. I don't know. Matter of fact, I was gonna say I don't know why, but we had a washing machine in the basement that you had to put quarters in order to use it because it
Oh,
wasn't just a one family
you
house.
motherfuckers took laundromats, washing machine, man.
Yeah, he wasn't missing it. Trust me. I don't know if maybe like you
uh,
said maybe he did realize, but I don't think.
Everybody misses. Everybody knows what money is being missed. I used to
But
do
he
the
didn't
same
care.
shit,
Bro.
but
Like I would say he never stopped it. So maybe it was
yeah,
just so insignificant that
it
he
was just
just
so much.
didn't care.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Now I
and we
had
didn't take
my,
too much.
well, my stepfather had a big Coke bottle, a plastic Coke bottle, where he would put change, sometimes dollars in there. And it was getting halfway, and all of a sudden, once I realized I could take something out of it, he had to actually tell me, "Hey, this thing is going down. It's supposed to be going up." But I would take it just for like little candies or little snacks, but at the store when I went to school. But this was like I was like 8, 9 or something, or 10, something like that. This is before I was on Hendrix.
but again, like our father it's like examples. It's kind of weird like how life turns out because like I know your situation, like your daughter, I guess she has a stepdad, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to it's tough. It's tough. I mean, all angles. I mean, and then the funny thing about life, when you have good examples, you'll kind of repeat them. Sometimes you might fall short and don't repeat time. You kind of, your family has been repeating time. Your mother, father got married, had kids, and still together. Same thing with you and your wife. Siblings, somewhat the same. Um, my hand, time repeated itself. My mother had a father. He wasn't a good dad, left, and she had a stepdad. Same thing with me. My father was around a little bit. Now she got a stepdad. For me, now my daughter has a stepdad, and then a lot of times she'll call me. Well, not a lot of times. Sometimes every now and again she'll call me, and I have to word. things a different way so she can understand, like, his role is important. I'm not there, but I'm still here, so to speak. You know what I mean? And then I also have to explain um, reasoning behind maybe his thought process or the mother's thought process in a respectful way and not pointing the fingers and starting wars. So a lot of times when we have kids out there that have step parents, first of all, nobody really wants to accept their step parents. I don't think they want to accept their original parents more.
Right.
That's the first time you might you'll hear this so often from kids, and as kids, they don't understand how hurtful it could be. I don't think I've ever said it. I wasn't bold enough to say it, but they'll say stuff like, "You ain't my daddy." Like,
Yeah.
well, that is the worst
Yeah. You
thing
don't
you
want to
could
hear that.
tell
Yeah.
to a man, to a man or a woman. I mean, because you're filling in a void in their life that they don't realize they need at the time. And for you to tell them that is like, motherfucker, I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
I'm here because I love your mother, or I'm here because I love your father, and you're being ungrateful, you know. And then whether you're a kid or not, with both your parents, your biological parents, or one is not, a lot of times it's unfortunate we don't understand what they were trying to accomplish if they were doing the right thing until we get an adult. Just like you said, you really didn't realize how much he had to go through and put up with.
But what I want to know from you that I think is interesting, like your experience with your stepdad seemed to be a good one. Um, because you didn't go into some people, if it was a bad experience, I think you probably saying to yourself, I don't, I would never want my child to grow up with a stepdad. So I don't, what those thoughts, did you ever had those thoughts? Like, I want to make it clear for my
Yes,
child, I don't
yeah.
want her to have a stepdad.
No, I don't think anybody plans for the walkout. I mean,
Yeah.
and then if you do, you just, it's just. I think, like I said, when two people get together, you should evaluate it right away. If I can see myself recreating me with this person, because that's what you're doing. Your traits, my traits, matching up and creating a new person. But a lot of times, all we do is look at the physical attraction and go with the flow, and then realize, okay, I'm. It's like oil and water with this person. Like it's not mixing right now. And then once it's too late, it's too late. Now you already got somebody with the person. Um, so again, as a kid, I knew I didn't want my kids or to be with somebody and not last. Once I had my kid, I was like, okay, now I have to make it work. It just didn't happen. Now, if I was mature enough, I would have made it last, or I would have tried harder. I just, I just was thinking about my own well being and got out of it. And then once I got out of there for too long, she moved on. I obviously moved on. It's like to try to like wean my way back in there. It's just too much time has passed.
Speaking of moving on and just being in a relationship and things like that, like I saw a clip. I think it was probably a month or 2 year old clip with Steph Curry, the famous basketball player for Golden State, and his wife Ayesha Curry, who's also doing well for herself and cooking and things like that. And she was on a show. I don't, damn, I can't remember if it was The View, one of those daytime shows with a lot of women on it. I'm pretty sure it was The View. And a half naked guy came out. I guess they always having fun. Um, he brought something out or whatever, parading around, and she pretended to take off her wedding ring. and then the co-host next to her was like trying to stop her. So I don't know if it was all like a planned act,
Yeah,
but she got a lot of
I don't think.
backlash for it.
Yeah, I don't think it was. It's two sides to that. So you try to recreate a fantasy or reality, and that's what I think they were doing at the moment of just normal and natural people just joking around. I mean, the crazy thing is it's a double standard. Guys all the time. I'm guilty of it. I'm not gonna say you're guilty of it. Men are guilty of it of playing around and doing the yeah, I would risk it all for that one right there. You know what I mean? But we really won't do it. You know, we'll look all the time, see a nice girl or whatever, but we know what we got. Some of us will practice and know we got home and still go over there and play the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You got me?
I got
So she was playing. I don't think she really was going to
you. Okay.
take off that wedding ring
No,
and play the field
yeah.
on a man like Steph Curry's stature. Like you,
Well, it's a couple ways it could go. Jay Z was married to Beyonce, and reportedly Jay Z cheated on Beyonce. And when you say a man like Curry, like a woman like Beyonce, and you still cheat, people still cheat. So even if it was an act or whatever, put yourself in Steph Curry's shoes, right? You're even
oh
if it's an
no,
act,
yeah, no, it was fucked
how
up.
would you
I'm not.
feel about it? That you're Steph Curry and
She's
your
no
wife is
way. Is no way they had a normal conversation and laughed it over after it was over.
right.
He probably was a little heated. He's like, why the fuck would you do that now? Because it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
So I'm not just dismissing the whole thing. I get what she was doing. It was a joke,
yeah, it
but
was a
it's
joke.
also something that he has to live with forever. He's not like me and you. Like if you're, for example, if I went down the street, I'm down the street with my girl, and she sees a fine ass man. She looked over at me, and we around our friends. She's around me, looked at me, and just said, "Now we're not married. What if we were?" And she, "We going over here real quick. I'll be back." Everybody laugh, ha 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 ha. It'll be a laugh in that circle,
Yeah,
and it may hit a little further, but it ain't gonna get all the way to another state. She did this on live TV where
look,
it got all over the world. He's in the league, all of his friends. I mean, and then they're in a competitive sport where they're on the court talking shit while they're playing. The mic is not always on for us to hear, but if you want to disrupt his shot, easily say, oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
talk
why?
to your girl real quick. She's
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
right now. She's playing the field, and
And we don't
it's
know their relationship either. We don't know. I mean, it could be like a Will and Jada type relationship. We don't know if they have an open relationship or they both flirt around or what. But that story, that little
he
story you told, actually kind of happened to me. I remember working in this place in New York called Pergament, and this girl and guy, couple that was holding hands or whatever. They was walking together, and I'm famous, not famous, but like my eyes is what a lot of women or girls back in my day used to be attracted to or compliment me on my eyes. Oh, he got pretty eyes or whatever. Always, like, if I had a dollar for every time I heard it,
Mhm.
I'll be rich. And
Yeah.
they was walking together, and she turned back and looked at me and like smiled at me while she was with her man or whatever. And he kind of noticed, and I saw them like arguing on their way back or whatever. So when you said that story, it just kind of triggered me
They were
to
young,
remember. They were young yet.
like young, like
Yeah,
maybe
like
20s,
teenagers.
teenage.
Teenagers.
Oh, okay, yeah. It happened to me too. It's happened to me too, where I'm like,
Yeah,
because for me, I know I could walk in a mall and I would see a man kind of look all the time. They don't, we don't hide it well. Women, they, they hide, they'll look and see who they want very cautiously.
yeah,
Like they know how to do it, but
yeah,
every now and again, a woman will act like a guy, and they'll just kind of break their neck looking,
yeah,
and that's it's kind
yeah,
of embarrassing. So
yeah. It
I could
is like
see, You know
and
how that could turn into an
I
argument. You
I'm
look at
pretty
it.
sure I've done that to my wife. I try not to, even in the corner of my eye, you see something that looks really, really good, and it's like you want to take another look, but you're with your wife, with your lady. It's like you try to like move your eyeballs a little bit, or like try to stay
Yeah.
straight so you don't move.
Hey,
Like, yo, I know she's
you
gonna
ever
look
got
at
caught?
me. I think
You ever
so. That's
got
what I'm
caught?
saying. I think I did. She never really caught. She kind of called me out, but I kind of like played it off. I wasn't
Oh,
looking type of thing. But
yeah.
it's hard to like you try to stay like she knows the girl is bad because it's like I know my husband want to look right now, so she's looking at me waiting for me to look. And I'm like, I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna stay straight. But
Yeah.
another thing triggered me with the job because that job, I remember this guy that used to work there. This guy, I remember he had glasses. He was a tall guy with glasses, light skin, and he was from the Caribbeans, but he was like a nerdy looking guy, but he was a player. Like he used to talk to every girl that moved. But his wife at the time or his fiance, I think they was engaged to be married, worked at the same job. And I used to always look at him like, yo, your wife work here or your fiance work here. And his fiance was such a like a good, I call it a good woman because she was always quiet. You never saw her flirt around or anything. But he was always flirting around. And one day in the break room, I don't think I was the one who brought it up to him, but it was like bro, your wife work here, like, and he told us a story that always stuck to me, like always, I always remember the words, the exact words
Mhm.
that he said, and he was like, bro, every woman have a weakness. They just need to give you the time for you to figure it out, and then you could be with that girl. And when he said it, I'm like, is he talking about his wife, his quiet wife? Because that was the context of the story. It was like his your wife work here, or was he talking about all the women that he's getting, like he's talking to?
Yeah, I think
Because
the other one he's trying to get, but
I'm
that
thinking he
still
was
doesn't
talking
make
about
any
his
sense.
wife because I think he was like
Mm.
even his wife have a week. You think my wife is good?
Yeah.
He's like if
Oh,
you
oh, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
if she gives you a time of day, she's you could get with her too. That's how I took what he said. And
Yeah,
but
he's
how do you
absolutely
feel about
right.
that? How do you feel about every woman has a weakness? Because you think I'm like if you're a man and you don't compliment your wife or your wife go to work and somebody be like, hey, you look good today, and your wife get home and you just sitting there doing, and don't compliment on her how good she look, but somebody else is doing it at work saying how nice or whatever, and she don't get that at home. Is that a way to get it to like
But well, first of all, his mindset is very stupid. It's right, but it's stupid because every woman has weakness, yes. But instead of looking for the weakness in everybody else to see if you can conquer, focus on making sure nobody gets to your wife's weakness. Do you know your wife's weakness? Like that's what he should be asking himself. And if he does know it, make sure it's untouchable. Like most women, weakness are exposed when they're lacking something, maybe affection, attention, something. And if it's open too much and available to the public, they're going to give in. And if everybody knows he's that type of guy that flirts and his wife works there, you don't think his wife know? And she's gonna have a tipping point before she just gives in. I mean, some women it takes a long time. Some women it takes very little, a little nudge. Some is just it's for the we call for the streets.
yeah.
And maybe he's doing what he's doing because his wife was for the streets, but you worked there with her. So you were able to see if was she was for the streets, whether you tried to approach her or not. Maybe the way she looked at you or something. But I just don't respect those type of guys. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cheaters out there, both men and women, but if you just being you're not even being cautious about it or discreet. It's
See,
like
that's what I'm saying. That story that I told you, you could take it two ways. And the first time you took it the way like for all these other women. I took it the way of one woman, like one like her, him talking about his good girl, his good lady.
yeah,
Because
I
I it's
know
like I have a good lady, so I'm thinking in myself, I'm always thinking I gotta give her some words sometime, like telling her she
exactly.
looks good. Like I took it in a way like I gotta make sure like whatever weakness my wife has is like I'm is
Feeling
I
it
have
for.
I'm feeling it for it exactly. So that's how I took
Yeah,
that conversation, and I kind of learned he's a player, and I'm learning like right, I'm learning okay, I don't want to be a player, so I want to be. I want to have a woman like how he have a woman like the one girl that's nice. I want a nice girl too, and I don't want
mhm.
other guys to steal
You
her from me by me messing up.
so so here's one thing we gotta know that women are gonna get approached regardless whether you doing everything to the T. If you got a woman with legs or not, just a pulse, somebody's hitting on them, attractive or not. So just doing your job sometimes not enough. They're still going to get approached, but my problem is you're just blatant about what you're doing on the side, and everybody can see it. And at the point where somebody had to say, "Hey, your girl works here," you
Yeah.
know, and he's and I get what you're saying. It could have been two sides to talk about everybody had a weakness, my wife and your wife, but make sure you're not doing that shit right in front of your wife's face because
I mean,
it's going it's going to
you're
it's going to
doing
hit
it.
them,
But I
huh?
mean, either way, like even if it's not in her face, eventually she'll find out. I mean, you are who you are when no one is looking. So I mean, even if he hides it, he's still that person. It doesn't change who he
Exactly.
is.
So unless they have an open relationship, but most men that are doing what he's doing are just filling their needs or wants for the moment, but are going to get hurt really hard when they find out that their significant other is doing it to them too. Like sometimes, most cases, they don't have that conversation where it's like, "Hey, look, I love you, I'm gonna be with you, but I think we should have an open relationship." Nobody's gonna do that. They just don't think that their significant other can handle the truth. And then there's a small group that have these conversations, like I guess like the Will and Jada thing. They had a conversation about the open relationship, but when it hits home and it hits the public eye, I don't care what kind of conversation you had, that shit hurts. It hurted Will. We all saw it on live TV. It's like they're not regular people like me and you, or like the guy that works at Walmart. If they get caught, they're embarrassed,
Yeah.
you know. But when you're on live TV and everybody's seeing, you can't walk away from that shit, man. He got a Will Smith can't go to anywhere without him having to read the room and see how everybody's accepting him. You know, so imagine that lady that y'all was talking about, your coworker saying, "Oh, every woman has a weakness." How her day to day is. Everybody else knows he's cheating. She has to play on this mask like, "Oh, I didn't know he was cheating." You know what I mean? And work there. This is rough. It's rough. And you just in that one store. So somebody like a Steph Curry and his wife, it's like, oh man, he can't. Steph Curry can't go anywhere without him having to read the room and say, "Hey, yeah, I know my wife did this. We working it out." This is weird.
And again, we don't really know their relationship, so I mean, they have probably handle it a way that it's nothing to him. I don't know, or maybe like you said, it bothered him because I think it will bother me. So I wanted your perspective on it. But I have another story about that I heard. It was about Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Like
Hmm.
they went to a restaurant, um, like basically a secluded place, nice little restaurant, and they had a nice dinner. And apparently the chef or the owner, restaurant owner, asked to speak to Michelle Obama, and she went back there to speak to him, and she came back, and Barack was like, what did he want? And she was like, well, that he was actually a boyfriend I had, an ex-boyfriend in high school. And Barack, cool Barack, how cool Barack was. He was like, oh man, you could have had, imagine if your life would have turned out
You could
differently.
what?
Imagine if your life would have turned out differently. You could have,
Oh,
owned, you could have been owner of a nice little restaurant. And Michelle Obama was like, no, Barack, if my life would have turned out differently, he would have been the president of the United States. It's like, the
mm,
power, the power of the power of a woman, like having a good woman behind you, is like I'm pretty sure she had a lot to do with him being president. Would he have become
yeah, but
president without her?
nah.
Think about it.
Well,
For one, you got to be married and all of that, and it's a whole thing. And Michelle Obama, she was a lawyer as well, very
mhm.
smart woman. Um, so it's like someone to help you drive.
Yeah,
Not
but
every woman
so
helps you
was
drive.
Barack. He was a lawyer too. So I mean, they're both in the same playing field, and that guy was a chef. The chances of him being president, being a chef, Barack still got the better shot. I mean, all you're going to do is probably increase. All she probably did was increase his credibility of being a better chef, better business owner, maybe. But being a, a president, mm, I don't know. I see where
Not
she's going with it,
not every
but
lawyer becomes a president, and not every
yeah, but
chef.
they match up better where he was able to excel in his field. So a woman's role and a man's role is to make a good couple is to make them better. Like some people are in a relationship, they actually bring them down. They should not be together.
Right.
But I think Barack and Michelle was the perfect match where he was able to excel in his field, she was able to excel in her field. She was been with that chef. They
Right, but
probably still would have been a successful couple, but I don't know about presidency.
well, we
I
don't
just
know. We don't
yeah,
know.
we
But
don't know.
that's just her just saying the power of the influence that she would have on her. It was not necessarily literal, right? But like basically, like you
Hmm.
said, is probably just saying he would have been just as successful, just because
Right.
the woman I am, how what would rub off on me would, or the push, or
Hmm.
however she handles her relationship, she's good, or whatever she does. Like there's good women out there that helps you, like
Yeah.
helps you get to where you need to go. Don't discourage
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
you can't do it, and like help pushes you and stuff like that, and there for you when you have those low times and stuff like that. So I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting that she would say that, uh, if the story is true. I mean, we don't know. This is something I saw on the internet, so I don't even know. But I heard it a couple times. So I wonder if that's really factual.
Shout out to everybody that's helping them be a better person than in a relationship. And I'm gonna move on quick on this one, but anybody who's just not helping the other person, just get the fuck out of the relationship. I mean, I've been in plenty, and I've been in those days where it's like that person is just really not helping you. If anything, they're just giving you a headache, arguing with you. Some people need the argument to help them be a better person, but if you constantly gotta yell and complain about that person, just get out of there. And if you
Yeah,
don't get out of there, you need to seek some counseling because
yeah.
it just
Don't
doesn't help. You're supposed to be better.
don't sleep with just anybody. Like don't
Oh
lay down
hell
with
no,
anybody, because
hell
you could
no.
get stuck that way. You ever
Yeah, and then and
yeah, go ahead.
no, all I'm gonna say is then yeah, that's kind of like kind of revolves back with the original topic. That's what stepdads come involved because you sat there and slept with the wrong person, and you
Yeah,
knew you know you can't be with them because you constantly got to deal with the
yeah,
arguments and yelling. That's why some people leave. I mean, it could be other reasons. Maybe they
all right,
fall out of because of drugs, alcohol, or something,
yeah,
crime. But just try to be with somebody that this is helping you be a better person, or and vice versa, and vice versa.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah, I'm
don't
sorry. Go ahead.
definitely don't lay down with just anybody because, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you could get stuck and then to the point where you got to jump off and get off. But
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna probably sound weird. I don't know where it's gonna go, but like I used to be around people who used to fight or like raise, not really fight. I don't want to say fight. Back in the day, people used to raise in New York. They used to raise pit bulls, and
Oh yeah,
they used to
that shit
breed
still
them.
goes on.
They used to breed them in New York. Like where like this guy have a whole bunch, and when these dogs get together and they have sex, the way you know that okay, the dog is going to be bred or going to be pregnant, the way you know it is when after they have sex, they get stuck together. We call it they locked. So they literally
Right.
butt to butt trying to get away from each other, but they're locked together.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine two dogs having sex, doggy style or whatever, and then when they're done, they can't separate. So they're locked, and that's how we know that okay, this dog is about to have some puppies. Like it worked. Um, I guess the studs or whatever they call them, the male dogs. But I brought it up because it's like when I say don't lay down with just anybody, you might get stuck. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
image I had in my head because like you said, if you have a baby kid with the wrong person, it's not gonna last. But your life is gonna be
Oh,
messed up, or not messed up necessarily. But if you want a supposedly happy marriage, because not every marriage is happy, if you married for
mm-hmm.
30 years, you ain't gonna be happy for 30 years. Just let me just tell you right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we've been married 18. I don't know how many happy years I
Oh
have, but it ain't
God.
all 18. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna every year is not gonna be happy. But
Mm-hmm.
the majority is, and it's worth having. But if you lay down with the wrong person, bro, like you're not gonna. I'm pretty sure you don't want to be miserable for 18 years. So you probably gonna
Yeah.
get off that bus and start with someone else, and then like you said, back into having now you having a stepdad.
Yeah.
Not necessarily nothing wrong with a stepdad because you had a great stepdad or you have a great stepdad, but not every stepdad is great, and not every biological dad is great either. Not every father is great.
Yeah.
So every
Yeah.
situation is different. You make the best of your situation. But all we're saying is try. Don't just lay down with anybody. I know it's nice to have fun and see attractive women and attractive men and want to have a relationship with them, but there's more to it than the physical attributes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's a connection, man. You gotta have a good. That's gotta be your partner, your friend. I mean, partners, business partners, relationship partners. They all have like conflicts and disagreements on something. You just gotta learn how to fix it and move on. But I was just talking about the people that's that doesn't make a good partner. Like you just try to build it as like a look at it as like a business, because that's what it is, a business. If you have a failing business, um, how are you going to create a new one and starting a family and think that business is going to be good? If your business is not building, how are you going to create another one? Meaning have another kid. I mean, have a kid. Period. So
So you ever
it's
had
just,
like
it's a good.
no, go ahead.
No, I said it's an interesting topic to dissect that everybody goes through on a day to day basis. You'll sit there and have your little problems. I'll have my problems, go to work and look all stressed out, try to cover it up, and you don't realize that it's the same thing going on in somebody else's house, or maybe even worse. That's all I was gonna say.
Do you have a input or about because we're talking about cycle? You did you correct me if I'm wrong. Your mother had a stepdad,
Yep,
and you had a stepdad. Your
yep,
daughter
daughter.
have a stepdad. Um, Now I guess it's on her if her kid have a stepdad or not. Like, do you want to break that cycle or do you want to just let
Oh, I wanted
chips
to
fall
break
where they may?
mine. I wanted to break mine, but I fell into the category of what most men do at a young age. Just
But we're not talking about you right
try.
now, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about breaking the cycle. Your daughter. Do you have you ever had that have you ever laid it out to her like that? Hey, look, your grandma had a stepdad, and I had a stepdad, and you have a
Not
stepdad. You
so
ever
not
laid it
not
out like
some
that where she
not
see it?
not in so many words. I mean, I've said it, but I've said so much. So I know the conversation needs to be brought up again. That's all I can say because that's something that you can never. This topic can never. You just say it one time. It needs to be repeated, just like when we go to school and talk about just any old life lessons or just lessons in general, math, science. Everything has to be repeated before you kind of just get it and know it. These type of conversations is not brought up enough. So you asked me that I to talk to my daughter. Yeah, I spoke to her, but just not enough. It's a conversation that I'm gonna have again, um, really soon, and I'm gonna have it again and again, just so she can break the cycle. Because, as a matter of
So
fact,
you want
in
her to
my
break the cycle.
small,
You want her to break the
yeah,
cycle.
definitely, man. Oh
Oh,
hell yeah! I mean, it makes for a more successful life, I think. I mean, you whether you believe it or not, I think you and your family is somewhat successful. It's not you're not the Oprahs or the Jay Z's, but you're mingling a different um, group, so to speak. Like you can mingle with people that can relate and say, yeah, my parents over here and their parents over there, my sister's over there with her husband and kids.
all right. I guess it's
When you had
statistically like proven that
right,
when you have both mother and father in the
but this is
household,
it is more structure when you
right?
have both
It's not
parents,
always
and
great, but
it's
you know,
yeah, it's just too many. It's like you want to be able to say, I know Will, Jada, and all her kids, and I know her kids' kids, and the kids have friends, and their friends know their parents and their kids. You know what I'm saying? It's just too complicated and too stressful when you're like, yeah, I know Will and her stepdad and her stepdad's kids, and one of his kids have uh is not really his kid, is a half kid. You know what I mean? It's just too complicated. You don't know the bloodline and the family tree. The tree is all branched out everywhere. It's just crazy.
and Will Smith actually do. His oldest son is from a previous marriage, but
Yeah.
I get your point.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I get your point.
Yeah, it is. That is true.
You just try to make the best of whatever situation, man. I guess like I thought she was gonna be like, let the chips fall where it may. I'm not gonna try to force her to have.
Oh, hell no. It's just too, no. It's always, it's never as smooth as people say, that's my stepdad, and yeah, we're good. And it's just, it's always a story behind it, a heartfelt story or a painful story, or sometimes it's a hurtful story that's just hitting really well. They may not seem like there's problems, but there is. This is, you know, to avoid those type of problems, just take the time, make sure you would land with the right person. That's all.
I, I know we're coming against the hour, but I was watching a TV
Hmm.
show and his this character's father wasn't in his picture, wasn't in the picture most of his life, and he got a friend request from his father, whatever. He ignored it. His friend request through like Facebook. I guess the times are changing. Like the father and just or the son don't walk up to the door, they send you a friend request. You ever had any kind of reach out from your father?
Nah.
And if he was to send you a friend request, what would you do? You would get off the bus?
Yeah,
All right, let's get off the
I
bus,
think.
bro.